because I seriously want your take on this. Ed Woodward at Manchester United, Executive Vice Chairman, comes in for a lot of flack. He's now apparently back on top of the earnings list, if you like, of such people in football here in England. He's overtaken Daniel Levy as the Premier League's highest paid director in the Premier League. He earned 3.9 million quid last season. Now, people are often onto us about the amount of money players earn in the game.
Sure.
You often tell me that the amount of money players earn in the game is way over and above what they should.
Yeah.
Does he fall into this category? Are you outraged that Woodward earned 3.9 million last season?
Well, the average footballer...
3.09 million.
Yeah, I heard you. The average footballer in the Premier League earns £70,000 a week, so they earn 3.7 million, 3.64 million. Okay, so the chief executive of a leading football club that commercially is probably going the right direction is in that area and should be paid at that level. The challenge is that the business of football is what Manchester United are in, and whilst it will please the Glazers, who are absentee landlords and abdicating all responsibility to him, the chickens will come home to roost. They have done, and they're beginning to come home to roost. They're out of the Champions League. They are not winning the Premier League for the best part of a decade. Commercially, they're still doing okay, but there's challenging, situations coming down the pike. Of course, there are lots of other things going on inside football that position themselves very well with Ed Woodward's particular agenda, which is commercially make them successful. So, yes, I do think he should be paid that level of money because, yeah, I do, not for his control over the football operation, but for the commercial delivery of what he provides back to the Glazers, and they are the ones that are paying him that money. Now, if you take that away and separate it and close your eyes and say, but Man United is a football club, then no, I don't think he should. So it's two different arguments I'm running. I don't understand. I've never understood why this guy does not make a decision about putting a director of football in there and taking the heat out of the situation. Because ultimately, the constant accusation is that Woodward is the reason why they're not successful. Hold on. They buy players. They buy an £80 million Maguire. They buy a £55 million Fernandes. They buy players, so he's providing the funds.
Yeah.
So where is the allegation? The allegation is that Woodward, the issue is not with Woodward, it's with the Glazers.
Yeah, but hang on a second. You think that Woodward should play his part in appointing a director of football, correct?
Totally.
But the fact that he's not doing that, he's coming up short.
I think he's
So the fact he's coming up short,
yeah.
Does he deserve his 3.09 million?
Well, it's 3.9 million, yeah. I mean, look,
3.09 million.
It's all inflated. It's all inflated money given the circumstances. But the nature of the beast is that Manchester United are still commercially one of the most viable businesses in football. So if you take away the passion and the emotion of what happens on the green stuff and look at the commercial stuff, then you have to say, on one hand, he doesn't do his job and hasn't built a regime that's capable of delivering an outcome. On the other side, the commercial side, which no one wants to hear about, but actually powers football clubs, which is the economics of scale, the commercial sponsorship deals they do left, right and centre, and their branding around the world, then the answer has to be yes, Jim, whether we like it or we don't.
But I don't like that, because you bang on about wage cuts for players. Why should Woodward not fall into that category as well? 3.09 million. You're only backing him because he's a senior member in the boardroom.
No. I don't bang on.
You identify with boardroom people more than you do with players.
No, it's not true, Jim. I don't bang on about players getting wage reductions. I banged on during the pandemic for there to be a cooperative spirit of the alleged football family to help support it.
You never had a swipe at anybody in the boardroom.
Because the boardroom salaries, by comparison...
Do you think United fans think Woodward's worth 3.09 million?
No, I would imagine there's a significant proportion of Manchester United fans that don't think he's worth 3.9 million. But the key component is...
Would they be right?
On one respect, yes. On another respect, no. Because commercially speaking, Manchester United are fit for purpose, and that's his job. But also part of his job is to be able to provide a decent fare for the football operation. Does he give them money? Do they get decent transfer spends?
Should
yes,
he
they
appoint
do.
a director of football?
Yes, I think he should.
But he hasn't done so.
Do you know why I think
so has he come up short?
Do you know why I think he should? Because I think he should get away from that particular allegation that ultimately that he is the reason why they aren't successful and they haven't got a decent recruitment policy is because they're director of football. But by bringing a director in football isn't the panacea. It doesn't provide all the solutions. It just takes Woodward out of the firing line. And then what would happen is if he brought a technical director in, and I'm not abdicating that I'm not saying that he isn't beyond reproach. If he brought a technical director in, there'd be criticism of which technical director he brought in. So he can't do right for doing wrong. His stock with the Man United fans is done in certain areas. But the salary side of things, look, commercially speaking, Man United are economically as viable as any football club in the world, and probably more viable than most.
But you're stopping short. You're stopping short of saying there should be wage cuts in the boardroom too.
Well, what wage cuts has anyone had in football?
Him.
No.
Does he deserve $3 million a year?
What wage cut has anybody had in football? Was he still doing his job when the players were sitting in their front rooms for 3 months?
You constantly call for players to have wage cuts.
No, I constantly called for the football industry, which sent out a clarion call for the lack of finances, for the players to be part of that, because 90% of the money in football goes to them. And it was the football industry itself that said, we're going bust. We're going bust in the pyramid. We're going bust in the Premier League. We can't afford it. So I then said, well, let's look at the main cost of the business, which is players. Maybe they can take a pay cut. And the players went, I don't think so.
You're prioritising the boardroom over the playing pitch.
Not in the slightest. No, I'm not. I actually believe that the core product has to be the pitch, because in the end, the chickens come home to roost. And they will. But the people that value Ed Woodward are the ones that employ him. And they are the ones at fault. They believe he's good enough for that job. They believe he's good enough for 3.9 million quid. So you and I can bark at the moon if we want.
Oh, you're barking at the moon.